finally the all clear for the crypto market. We are finally sitting on the convergence of three catalysts that could drive us to either new all-time highs, or is it a short-term pump? We're going to break down everything so we understand exactly where we're at, because we need to know where we're at so we know where we're going. But we have three key catalysts that have converged all this week. We have CPI data, geopolitical climates, and jobs data have all changed this week, and they are all converging at the same time. CPI data came in this morning and it came in below. It came in at a 2.4 versus the expected 2.5. We have that right here. So, I mean, of course, you know, people are going to have their things to say about Powell, et cetera, but what do we care about? We care about the numbers. So we beat inflation data. This is good. Inflation is the lowest it's been since before the tariffs were announced, now back at a 2.4. So we did beat on an inflation. And then earlier this week, we beat on the jobs data. A stronger than expected jobs report could signal a labor market turnaround with caveats. So there are areas in white collar that are struggling due to AI, but the rest of the job sector has showed resiliency coming in way above, and employment ticked down. So not only did employment do well, but also inflation has done well. But that's not it. We have more information. We also have cooling geopolitical climates. Let me find it for you. See if I can find it on the back end here, about Russia finally wanting to come back to the dollar. And of course, I didn't bookmark it, but I did retweet it. Russia coming back to the dollar, putting a proposal in. Here it is. I did do it. Russia memo proposes return to the US dollar system in a pitch to President Trump. What does this mean? This is going to slow de-dollarization. This is going to bring value back to the dollar. This is very bullish for our economy. We did see a pullback in gold and silver in a response to this, but it's, with inflation data, it's starting to improve today as far as the gold and silver, but this was announced yesterday. So again, this is bullish for our economy. So why do we care about the economy? Why do we care about inflation data? Why do we care about jobs data? Why do we care about what's going on with Russia? Well, the reason we care, because the overall macroeconomy is what's going to cause number to go up. And that's why numbers going up this morning. We also had a buyback, of short-term T-bills this morning, which injected more liquidity into the market. So a stabilizing economy means more rotation into risk on assets, okay? So that's why we're going to see a pump when we get good inflation data. That's why we're going to see a pump when we get good jobs data. Now, that's the question, though. Is this a pump, or is this going to take us to potential new all-time highs, right? That's what everyone wants to know, because right now the entire crypto market is running, and when we have a green day, green feels good, right? When number goes up, it feels good, and the entire market is going up right now. However, if we zoom out, there's still a lot of red in the last month. We haven't recovered everything we've lost, so let's pump the brakes a little bit. But in order to really push this across the finish line and continue pushing up to higher prices, we are going to need to see something with the Clarity Act. Well, Patrick Witt had something to say about the Clarity Act. This is a little bit longer, but if you want to know exactly what's happening with market structure, this is a really good one.
President's Council of Advisors for Digital Assets. Patrick, welcome on Yahoo Finance. Good to see you here this morning. Let's start on that Clarity Act, because we heard a lot about it last night from Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong on his earnings call. What is the status of this?
So the status right now, the House passed the Clarity Act, their version of it last year, over to the House in July, I believe. And the Senate has taken it up and made its own changes to it and is fashioning their own version. We were able to pass half of the bill out of the Ag Committee that handles the CFTC portions. And now we're just stuck in the Banking Committee for the SEC portions, the securities portions of that bill. So there was a markup that was scheduled on, I believe, January 18th that unfortunately got pulled down, postponed. But we're working hard to address the issues that were raised that led to the postponement of that markup and hopefully get that back on on the books soon. And then once we pass that out of the banking committee, the two pieces of the legislation will need to be reconciled before a final vote on the floor. So more work to be done, but we're a step closer with the passage of the ag portion of this a couple weeks ago.
Patrick, who has to bend a little bit ultimately to get this over the finish line? Is it the crypto community or the banking community?
Not to be cliche, it's a little bit of both, and we've encouraged both parties. We've had conversations individually. We've hosted a number of meetings here at the White House. We might host another one again next week on this issue of stablecoin rewards and yield. And it's unfortunate that this has become such a big issue because ultimately this is not the stablecoin bill. That was the Genius Act. But we've heard from senators on both sides of the aisle concerns about potential deposit flight from stablecoins on different platforms. And so what we've encouraged both sides to do is let's find a middle ground. Let's use a scalpel heel here to.
So what the banks are basically saying is they're concerned that the regional banks, the smaller banks, aren't going to be able to compete with blockchain, essentially. And they're pillars of the community, et cetera, et cetera. They're worried about a bunch of the regional banks closing is what they're worried about.
To address this narrow issue of idle yield, let's call it. But let's not take a chainsaw to this. Let's not let this derail the bill. There is so much goodness in this bill, no matter what your perspective is. The banks, there's a lot of permissible activities. It allows these institutions to now play in the crypto space in a way that without that regulatory clarity, they wouldn't be able to. And then obviously from the crypto side, the regulatory jurisdiction, the clear lines between the SEC, the CFTC, developer protections in the bill. There's just a litany of excellent measures in here that are critical to future-proof this industry from a future Gary Gensler or, God forbid, a Secretary of the Treasury, Elizabeth Warren. So we want to make sure that people are approaching this the right way, that they recognize the value of this bill. And we're going to keep working to make it better, but ultimately it is a good product at the end of the day.
So he's saying what we've been saying the whole time is that we need to get it done before midterms. It has to be done before midterms. And that's what they're focusing on because God forbid we go back to something with a new administration like we had with the Gensler era, which is a real fear if it does not get done before midterms are over, because if Democrats get a hold of the House and the Senate, it's not going through. And that's what we're worried about when it comes to the Clarity Act. That's why I think it's going to get done.
Spirit of compromise, Patrick, do you think the crypto industry just has to get off this view that it's going to be able to pay rewards on stable coins? Does that get it through?
Again, as I said, there's a way to address this that doesn't disrupt a lot of the business models in the space and also addresses the bank concerns. So this is a major item. It's not the only one. There's still some issues on Title I with tokenization, the token taxonomy, and the authorities between the SEC and the CFTC, making sure that the SEC isn't swallowing too much of the CFTC's jurisdiction. And then on Title III with DeFi, illicit finance. So there are other issues that we need to work through, but this is a main sticking item, and we're not going to be able to get this out of the banking committee unless we address this issue. So that's why we've taken it so seriously, why we've hosted the different interested stakeholders here at the White House, and we're going to continue to stay at the table and encourage them to find a compromise on this issue because it really is the major gating item.
We'll love to get.
So basically, like the major crypto firms, Coinbase, etc., don't want to give up their stablecoin yield because it's their main producer of income for them, as well as the banks don't want to give them stablecoin yield because it's too much competition. They're worried people are going to leave regional banks and they'll start closing down regional banks to flee for cryptocurrency and stablecoin yield.
Get your take on this one. When I talk to banking executives on this particular issue, they say that community banks just might struggle to lend to businesses if these crypto players are allowed to pay these rewards. I mean, do you share those concerns?
There's been a number of studies that have pointed in either direction. I think ultimately our bottom line is consumers win when there's choice. But we've heard from a number of senators, and again, it's bipartisan on this issue, that they want to make sure that the concerns of the community banks are addressed, that we're not doing anything that would cause deposit flight from their platforms. They are important pillars of the various communities around the country. And so I think we can do that. I think we're fashioning a compromise. Last week's meeting between the banks and the crypto companies, I think broke some new ground, established some new common ground, some areas of agreement, and we'll build upon that. But whether or not we agree with that view, I think I've seen studies that point in either direction. Ultimately, there's going to be a convergence between crypto and the banks. Right now, it is a new product. It's somewhat threatening to the community banks and not.
There is going to be a convergence between crypto and the banks. This is the White House saying. I mean, we've known this is coming, but this is what we've been talking about now for 5 to 10 years, right? A convergence of crypto into the real world, and that is what they are fighting to accomplish.
Not just the community banks, but also the GSIBs, the larger banks. But they're ultimately going to start getting into the crypto space. They can also offer stablecoin products to their customers, just the same as crypto. This is not an unfair advantage in either way. And then many of the banks are now applying for OCC bank charters themselves to start offering bank-like products to their customers. So in the future, I don't think this is going to be an issue, but we're managing through an interim period where there's a lot of people on the bank side of the table that feel threatened by this, but ultimately I think they're going to find opportunities to use these products and leverage them and offer new products to their customers and expand their businesses.
That's probably the truest thing that's come out of anyone's mouth in a minute, is the banks are intimidated by this. There is the key problem, which we all already knew, but that is the key problem, is that the banks are intimidated by everything going on blockchain because they are going to lose yield. They're going to lose money. They have more competition and they don't want it. So they've been lobbying against it. That's what's been holding the whole stupid thing up.
Should a Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan be threatened?
I don't think so. I think there's tremendous opportunity for the JP Morgans of the world to engage in crypto activities. If you just go to LinkedIn, there's plenty of job postings at JP Morgan hiring people into the digital asset space. So I think they're indicating that they intend to get into this space in a big way. They were present at last week's meeting, very constructive, and I think. Yeah, on the stablecoin part of this, there's the consumer banking side, but then there's also the institutional bank side. And as more and more liquidity gets added to treasury markets, with stablecoin being backed by T-bills, there's a lot of activity and commercial activity that the larger banks that have rates trading operations can get into. So I think for those larger banks that have those kinds of business lines and large practices there, they recognize what an opportunity this is.
Brian Armstrong over Coinbase. He sounded a little more optimistic, Patrick, last night on his earnings call about Clarity getting passed, at least compared to what we heard from him at Davos in January. Do you think this ultimately gets passed in the first quarter, or is this more mid-year?
So Brian Armstrong's a little bit more optimistic about it now, as they announced on their earnings call. Yeah, because Coinbase took a massive dump on the earnings call. Their crypto-related trading was down like some crazy 680 million or something like that. Regardless, like, Robinhood took a hit on crypto trading. Coinbase is taking a hit on crypto trading. Gemini is taking a hit on crypto trading. Retail is exiting crypto, and we're going to get into that as well when we're trying to determine if this is a short-term pump or a chance to move towards new all-time highs. Is this the next leg? Did we actually hit the new bottom? We're going to cover that. We have to look at the entire picture, but we need to find out what's going on with this Clarity Act timeline now.
We're definitely on the clock. There's a window here. The window is still open, but it is rapidly closing. And so that's why we are taking it so seriously, why we're encouraging folks to cut the deals that they can, to stay at the table. Let's not let any moss grow here. We got to get this done because, as I mentioned, it's one step in the process. If we can get this out of the banking committee, it still needs to be reconciled with the ag portion. And ultimately, there's going to be a cloture vote and a passage on the floor. That all takes time. And the most precious real estate in Washington, D.C. is Senate floor time. So we're in regular touch with Leader Thune about that. But he knows that this is a priority for the president, priority for my boss, David Sachs. And I do believe we're going to get this done. I won't necessarily put a date on it, but before the midterms really start to take all the oxygen out of the room, we have people engaged at the table that have invested countless hours on this bill, and we're going to get it done.
Well, you already put a date on it at the Ondo Summit. You said April 3rd, which we all knew wasn't true to begin with, but he's basically singing the same song we've been singing in the fact that he thinks it's going to be done before midterms, and it has to be. done before midterms. It's our only window. If it gets pushed back further, we are all screwed when it comes to clarity.
Lastly, Patrick, you're in the trenches on the Bitcoin reserve that is being built out here in the country. Where does that stand?
So with the passage of the executive order, what we wanted to do with that is get an accounting of what the government held and then also stop the bleeding. So stop these agencies from willy-nilly liquidating digital assets that they had, sometimes at fire sale prices. I think by some estimates, based on the sales and the way that they were conducted under the previous administration, we the government may have lost out on tens of billions of dollars that could have been held on our balance sheet. So right now we've stopped the bleeding. We're in regular touch with the agencies, monitoring the current status of the digital assets that they hold, making sure that the accounting is complete, not just Bitcoin, but obviously many of the wallets hold different digital assets in there that need to be appropriately accounted for. And then on the Hill, there's the Bitcoin Act that Senator Lummis had introduced. There's going to be a new bill introduced by Representative Begich in the House that builds upon that and allows some of the necessary authorities to centralize, properly safeguard these assets, and then explore budget-neutral ways to add to that stockpile. And then in the future, ultimately, if Congress decides to move in that direction, to allow for us to potentially add to that with outright purchases. But that would need to be an appropriations decision.
So they're looking at buying Bitcoin now, but it's got to get through Congress. So again, Clarity Act's exactly where we thought it was, exactly what we're saying on the channel, and now it's confirmed by the White House. So anyone who tells you that the Clarity Act's going to be done here or there and there's a vote and this and that, remember, it's got to get through this banking committee first before it can even be consolidated and go onto the floor for a vote, right? We still got, I mean, we'll be lucky if it gets done by midterms. I think they're going to push it across, but it's highly important. So Ondo Finance, what's Ondo Finance up to? No audio on this. Ondo and Chainlink announcing their partnership as well now for institutional grade pricing on QQQ, Tesla, and more on-chain equities. They are really moving fast. Again, we thought there might be a partnership between Ondo and Ripple. Turns out it was Ondo and Chainlink. And again, if you're new to the channel, we stream 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, every single day at noon. We follow the entire crypto market, but we hold our institutional plays. I am here for XRP, Canton Network, HBAR, Chainlink, and Ondo, as well as my real world infrastructure plays, copper, gold, silver, and real estate. Now, when we're looking at the debasement trade and we're talking about that, you also have to keep in mind the discussion of the debt cycles, right? So the debt cycle is very important. And when you want to look at Bitcoin and you want to look at the period of where we are, you also have to keep in mind that the tariffs kind of changed the world for about a year. And we're finally starting to get back to that point.
It's not a mystery. It is a repeat of the debt cycle. They are rolling the debts. They are doing the same thing each cycle. It's not to do with a halving cycle, nothing to do with any of that. It's all driven by liquidity cycle and funding of debts. Each phase, we get phase one of the banana zone, banana number one. The corrective zone, banana number two comes. Another correction, banana number three. So this is the banana zone. So that's what happened in 2020, 2021. Off we go. Sorry, that was 2017, which again looks very similar to this one. That was the last one. Here we are now. It can't be clearer to me. I've shown you the macro evidence, the technical evidence, the sentiment evidence. Everything here suggests to me that hold on to your hats. Don't fuck this up. Don't lose control of your tokens. Don't use leverage. Don't get your wallet hacked. Just sit with it. Be careful. Don't get FOMO. Do all of the right things, and we'll go up to the next phase of the correction zone. That's going to be harder, because the next one that happens, we'll have a 35% drop, and you'll all say, is it over? And you'll definitely be sure it's over, and everybody on Twitter will tell you it's over, and it won't be over. By our work, we suggest that because of the elongation of the business cycle, because rates were higher for longer, the forward-looking liquidity suggests that, again, probabilistically speaking, without any guarantees, this whole thing goes into Q1, maybe Q2 of 2026, which would align with Trump's, trying to win the midterms as well. So everything's lined up for us. I think it started. So keep the faith, keep building stuff, and let's keep driving Siri forward with all of this. Thank you.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and say he's right, but I mean, it is an interesting theory, and he does have his evidence. And again, you can tell yourself whatever story you want to tell when it comes to putting evidence in front of you. But we are looking at a change in liquidity right now. That's what we're seeing. And if it were to take off right before midterms, that would certainly help his case when we're looking at it from a political element. But again, we follow facts, figures, numbers, logic, but I want to present the entire picture to you, right? I mean, I'm not here to cherry pick things. If there's something that's different than what I have to say, then I want to show you that. Ondo Finance received EU regulatory approval to list the first round of Ondo tokenized stocks and ETFs. This was really interesting from Consensus Hong Kong.
Now, if I were talking to the banks, and I was going to give them advice, I would say, hey guys, this is going to happen whether you like it or not. Okay, you're the taxi cab industry and Uber's coming into town. So you can either fix what's going wrong in the taxi cab industry or Uber's going to eat your lunch. Okay, so it's, for me, it's more advice to the banking executives than to Brian.
Totally.
But I think you're making the point, Brian, relax, get the deal done, and let's move forward. And I think we're generally going to go in that direction. Likely before Memorial Day. Likely before Memorial Day. And now, if I were talking to the banks, and I was going to give them advice.
Now we're hearing before Memorial Day coming out of Consensus. We're hearing before midterms out of the White House. I do think it's going to get done. Now, this is important to note. When we couple this information with what Raoul Pal was saying as far as the debt cycle, the fear and greed index is now at a 5, the lowest it has ever been. Now, historically, market runs happen when the fear and greed index in crypto hits its all-time extreme fear lows. And we are there right now at the intersection point of all of this going on. So do I think this is a pump, or do I think this is the next leg turnaround? It's difficult to say. But I always put my money where my mouth is, and that's why I dollar cost average in all the way down. That's why I told you guys I was going to be shorting or buying puts or shorting Bitcoin on the way down, and I did. I told you guys when I sold them right after we got the good jobs data and it was pulling back right here. I sold them. And again, nothing I do is ever financial advice. This channel is for entertainment and educational purposes only. You should always do your own research because, as everybody knows by now in this space, you can lose everything very quickly. I've done it twice. I had to learn the lessons the hard way, and that's why I'm able to have some success with it now, because I dollar cost average in now. I'm not going all in on large positions, on hopium, on hype that's constantly fed to everyone. You know, you go on YouTube right now and you'll see 15, 20 different narratives on why price is doing what it's doing, and very, very few are going to reference anything to do with what's going on in the broader economy right now. Probably very few will mention Russia unless they're talking about gold or silver. They're not going to tell you what that does for liquidity and what that does for stability of the dollar and what it does for the certainty in the geopolitical climate. Just remember, last week we were talking about completely reorganizing the way world trade is done because of de-risking from China. There's a lot of uncertainty going on in global economic markets right now. The more certainty we get, the better, regardless if it's good news, bad news, or indifferent. But I wanted to show you guys this real quick, and then I'm going to hop into some price and we'll get into the chat. This was Coinbase, okay? I specifically wanted to show you this one line. Coinbase reported a $667 million net loss, its first profit miss since Q3 of 2023. So the loss primarily came, I had it down here. They're talking about their stock being on a dead cat bounce. 1 point blah, blah, blah. It was talking about the main stemmed from its $718 million decrease in the value of investment portfolio, which is largely unrealized, At the same time, strategic investments, including Circle, lost $395 million. So they lost a bunch of their investments, but they also lost a bunch of its retail investing. Coinbase posted net loss, blah, blah, figure 20. Okay, let's see, where was it? Because it was talking about the retail investors actually buying. Here it goes. 2.9% after hours trading. I lost it. I had it here. Bitcoin dropping, etc. Transaction, here it was. Transaction fees plummeted 37% as retail traders exited the market. So retail was not trading on Robinhood. They're not trading on Coinbase. They're not trading anywhere. And these people are starting to take their hits on it because retail has moved on to prediction markets, gold, silver, and other things. They don't care about crypto anymore. They've lost too much money. It sucks, but that's the reality of it right now. So when we are in extreme fear, when markets were at extreme lows, we're dollar cost averaging in. And if you picked up at the bottom of this pump, you're looking pretty good today. Now, will it continue to go up? We shall see. That's why we dollar cost average in over time. It's not about one thing. What's up with the market today? Good morning, Raul. I'm pretty sure we answered that question at length for you today. Are you still short IBIT? I think I also just answered that as well, but I sold my IBIT puts yesterday. Sir Charles, I didn't get to go long this morning. It started pumping before I could get it in there. Let's pass without the bank approval. The Democrats aren't going to do that. The banks have their hand in the Democrats. That's they're little puppets, you know. Unfortunately, Janie XRP Doe in the house. Welcome back, Janie Doe. Thank you for being here today. Race fan says good afternoon. Running some laps around the Walmart aisles. I'm on the run for she who must be obeyed. Running errands for the wife, I'm guessing. Somebody know where to buy Canton. Canton coin can be purchased in a couple different places. Excuse me. Again, not financial advice, but I will show you. Let me pull it up here. So where did it go? Where did it go? Not that one. This one. So Canton Network can be purchased from Uphold, Kraken, OKX, Bitmart, Gate, KuCoin, Bybit, WeMexC. It's also available on Caleb and Brown. Just remember that it's not your traditional crypto. There's only a select couple of wallets available for it. So wherever you buy it, you're more than likely going to have to store it there. You're going to have to custody it with whoever you purchase it from. I personally use Caleb and Brown because I like to store it in their institutional custody. They have institutional cold storage custody that's included with their brokerage. So that's personally where I keep mine. Links in the description for you, but you can get it from any of those other exchanges. Now, back to the chat. Uphold, you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. You just can't move to a cold wallet. Exactly. You have a Caleb, so Caleb and Brown does have a $500 minimum purchase if you purchase with them. But again, theirs is a 3.5% fee with no spreads. You get the price that you're getting, and your fee is the same no matter what. But yes, they do have minimums. It's more of a white glove treatment service. You're going to catch the replay today. All right, Sir Charles, no worry. My workaround is to stack it on Uphold, then trade for USDC or RLUSD. Move the stablecoin to Caleb and Brown, then trade for CC. A pain for sure, but at least you are stacking while it's low. So I honestly just move stuff around, and I'll take USDC on wherever my stuff is, and I'll just send it to Caleb and Brown because it moves instantly, and it only costs a few cents because Caleb and Brown utilizes the XRP ledger for their payments. When the whales all jump back into Bitcoin and the price rises, retail will jump back in. 100% agree with you, Stephen Haynes. Yeah, it's market psychology. That's why I did the stream yesterday. But people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear the truth behind it, behind the market psychology of buying at the top and selling at the bottom. They wait for the euphoria to get in, and they feel in the FOMO to kick in, right? The fear of missing out. And regardless of how many times people get beat over the head with it, sometimes they still just don't learn the lesson. It's really scary, though, for most people. It's really scary when the number's going down and things look absolutely terrible and there's no end in sight. it's difficult and scary to trust the process and to keep buying at the bottom, knowing that it's going to go up. But if you have conviction and belief in your investments, then it should be easy for you, because I believe what my assets are going to be in the long view, right? A year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, not what they are today, tomorrow, or next week. So when XRP goes from $1.40 to $1.11, it doesn't really bother me all that much, because I'm more worried about what the price is going to be 10 years from now. But pulling your emotions out of it is extremely difficult for a lot of people, though. Let's get into a recap for anyone who may have came in late. Let me try and check and see how many people are in the stream here. It's a lower stream, only 28 people in the stream. I thought we would have more on a Friday with the number going up. I figured more people will be feeling good, prices going up. We want to talk about a new leg up, potential all-time highs. I mean, there is a ton of information going on today, but it is Friday, and people are tired. People are tired of the crypto community right now, and I mean, it seems like every day they get told some kind of lie that doesn't come true, unfortunately. It sucks, because it makes the rest of us look bad who are actually trying to build something here. But I mean, people are getting lied to left and right. They're getting misinformation left and right. It's just not a pretty picture. Let's talk about price for a little bit, though. So we got down as low as 65,000 yesterday. I sold my IBIT puts right about here-ish, right around 66.5. But I didn't end up flipping it into a long. I did unlock margin for myself so I can start dabbling in futures, because I thought we were going to start seeing another run up. I just happened to miss it. I didn't have a play that I was fully convicted on, or a setup I was fully convicted on. Looking at XRP, though, XRP now is sitting at $1.41. And it could, I mean, it's going to follow Bitcoin. Everything's dropped down. Are we going to get another push up, or are we going to get a pull back? I tend to think it's going to push up. Let's look at gold and silver. Gold's back up to over 5,000, which is good. Silver is now back up to 77, which is good. So I'm net positive on everything I've dollar cost averaged into so far this year, with today's little run up. And I personally think we're going to continue to see more of a push over the weekend. Again, I could be wrong, but I think we will continue to see more of a push over the weekend with this bullish positive news. How bullish am I of that? Well, I mean, I would enter a position right now and go long on Bitcoin if we weren't overbought on it. It's just not the best position to enter in. I think it'll probably pull back a little bit more. I'm going to watch it for a little bit. I'm probably going to be doing some trading this weekend, because I do think there's some opportunity. Because I do think we're going to see a run up, but I'm paying attention. I have to watch the data. I mean, we're already up 5% in the last 24 hours on Bitcoin. Can't go up forever. I would love for it to go up forever, but you know, we are here for the long view, right? 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Now, when we also follow the actual on-chain data, right? So the on-chain data, we follow payments every single day. We follow account set activity every single day. We had our spike up to 68,000. Today, we're already at 27,000, and we still cleared 39,999 yesterday. Payments data has slipped a little bit for us, though, only doing 1.2 million and 1.1 million the last 2 days. We'll see if this goes back up. Again, I want to see it push beyond 2 million. We got up there for a couple days, but I want to see that continue to ramp up. We need utility. And when we look at things from a large perspective, and we look at utility from a large perspective, that's why I like the Canton coin. That's why I like XRP. That's why I threw a dart throw at zero, because I do believe that institutional use case is what's going to push things forward. It's not going to be retail. We might get some retail FOMO out of it, but I still don't think we're going to see, you know, a major push from anything retail. It's going to have to be institutional. That's why I kind of started getting away from the retail payment stuff.
The overall crypto community. So, you know, in a time when we are having one of these historically volatile sell-offs, I think some clarity on the clarity bill would give great comfort to the market, and you know, we could move forward from there. So it's very important to get this done. And I think if the Democrats were to take the House, which is far from my best case, then the prospects of getting a deal done will just fall apart. I mean, look what the Democrats did to crypto under the Biden administration. It was almost an extinction event, and President Trump has worked to make the U.S. the digital asset capital of the world. There's a lot of innovation that goes on adjacent to crypto in the blockchain, in DeFi. So I think it's important to get this clarity bill done as soon as possible and on the president's desk this spring. The overall crypto community.
So he believes if it doesn't get done, it's going to fall apart. And I tend to agree with him. I don't think it's going to be done by spring like this is saying, but I do think it'll be done before midterms. So Kathy Wood, what does she have to say about where we are at right now?
I actually think the U.S., from an investment point of view, is going to do very well over the next few years. You wouldn't know it from the last few weeks, but I think that we're in the flip side of the bubble. We are absolutely in the flip side of the bubble. Investors just threw money at the bubble when the technologies were not ready and the costs were way too high. Now we're in an environment where we're ready for prime time with all of these technologies: robotics, energy storage, AI, blockchain technology, and multi-omics technology. And so I think we're going to have a boom, and the U.S. is going to do very well. I actually
So
think
Kathy
the US
Wood thinks we're going to have a technological boom this year and stocks are going to do very well. There's a lot of optimism coming through right now after this most recent sell-off. Again, over the last few months, several tech stocks down 30, 40, 50%. Most of the crypto markets down about 50%. I mean, the last 3 to 6 months have been a massive sell-off across the board. We have liquidated a bunch of assets. It's got to go up at some point, right? Capital flows where liquidity is deepest, says Canton Network.
I think we're going to have a moment. And I think for stablecoins and like the consumer market, part of that moment was like the Stripe acquisition. And after that, you can see all of these companies doing all these things that they were probably thinking about, but that was the impetus for them actually executing them. They either had enough excitement or fear, right? Like that was a moment and that mattered. I do think that the talk pilot on Canton, where that real money moving against treasuries in the institutional market, I think that was a moment. I think that was when you started to see a number of people say, oh gosh, it's not Canton specific, but like we should be doing something around this because this matters.
Can you describe quickly what that was for those who didn't see this?
Imagine institutional players basically accepting treasuries for payment for stablecoin issuance, where the players that are doing that are involved in the repo market. The repo market dwarfs the payments market or the B2B fintech market by orders of magnitude. So in the event that the participants in the repo market that are institutional have very specific desires that are extremely sophisticated in nature, agreed on this is the platform to test this new opportunity. And by the way, it was successful. That is such a moment. That moment is like Waller at a very stable conference saying like, this is why stablecoins are important. If you were standing in that room, it was like, you were on a different planet. It was almost impossible to imagine that this could happen. It's the same thing when I feel like the Canton talk pilot kind of got off the ground. And I think there's another thing that can happen, which is when one very large company ignites agentic workflows in a way that actually works, that people are using, maybe even without their knowledge, whatever chain that's running on is going to be made, at least for a while, because the flood of people and developers that are thinking about how do I monetize the human eyeballs or how do I monetize the downline human interest to pay other machines because there is now an incentive and a technical infrastructure for rewarding that. Like it's going to be very exciting. I hope we're present when that moment happens. Like our
All right, so it is real. The moments are happening where these large players are actually using blockchain technology. It works. And really, the repo market is larger than just about everything else. He said that as well. And when we watched the full interview with the CEO from Digital Asset, he broke down the repo market very, very well. Also, when we talk about how much value is actually there in the quadrillions and quadrillions of value. DTCC saying it's a multi-chain world. Again, they already have partnerships with Canton Network, Layer 0, XRP, Ripple, right? So, I mean, This is only building out. BitSafe talking about Coinbase joining Canton Network as a validator. Everyone is building on Canton Network. It's undeniable. I'll talk about it every day. Again, not financial advice, but I will talk about Canton Network every day until the rest of the crypto community wakes up to it. Because it's legitimately being built on and has real institutional adoption and real movement actually happening. Not to mention, when we're talking about everything going on, I forgot one more thing when it comes to the catalyst, right? The odds of a government shutdown fell to less than 25% overnight as well. So it doesn't look like we're going to have another government shutdown either. So again, cooling geopolitical issues, cooling political issues at home, as well as good economic data in jobs and inflation after having a 50% pullback pretty much across the board everywhere in our economy, with the exception of AI stocks, well, with the exception of some AI stocks. So, I mean, is the pain over? I mean, I dollar cost average in. I tend to think that the pain is over. I think we are going to see a movement up. People should be getting their tax returns soon. The economy should start being lifting. You know, people are starting to get in those tax breaks that Trump was talking about from the business sector as well. That's why we're seeing Caterpillar do so well, because of the tax breaks on, you know, the large equipment. I mean, we're going to see, I do think we are going to see an economic boom this year of some kind, as long as the geopolitical climate agrees. However, that's why we dollar cost average in, and we're here for the long view. Don't want it to go up yet. It feels good though when it does go. Oh, I completely agree. You did get your dollar cost average down though. Good for you. So did I. I got mine down. I'm actually green again now, as it's starting to go back up. So that always feels good. Stephen Haynes says, do you think that the decoupling event will be when Clarity is signed into law? I think there will be a decoupling event based on utility, right? Because until then, it's still moving as speculation with Bitcoin until utility is moving it differently. And honestly, we can see that with Canton Network. Let me pull it up for you. I'll show you. All right. So we can actually see that with Canton Network. So if you look at like today, right? The rest of the market is going up. Canton Network not doing anything. Over the last month, the market was going down. Canton Network was going up because it moves based on its utility, right? Based on its, you know, more minted and more burned based on how it's being used. So the more utility comes on chain, the more it will be burned, and eventually the more will be minted. But again, that's the whole point of it. So, I mean, it's gone up 5 places in the last month. Now it's ranked 17. It's fallen a little bit with this run up from the rest of the market, but it does not move with Bitcoin. It moves with the beat of its own drum. I managed to pick up some last night here. I was like 15.6 or 15.7. Yeah, 15.7. I managed to pick up some last night at 15.7, but yeah, I mean, it does not. I think that's what decoupling is actually going to look like. It's going to be based on utility actually pushing it. And when the market's going up and down, it'll move on its own. I mean, that's what decoupling will look like. It'll look just like, kind of like Canton Network, in my opinion, what I think it'll look like. And I think that's going to be based on utility. And will the utility fully turn on until after Clarity? Probably not. So both can be true. Because I don't think the Clarity is fully going to be turned on until after the Clarity Act is done. But that's my opinion. Alcoholic Click made it in the house today. Appreciate you taking the time to be here. What else do you guys have for me today? How many people do we have in the stream today? I feel like it flowed pretty easy, but yeah, I mean, it was like, there's like no one in here. Man, no one cares anymore. I feel like a very quiet stream today. Only 24 people in here. We only got as high as 28. That's like half of what we usually do. On a Friday with the number going up, I'm shocked. Did I scare everyone off with my Get Rich Now video that I did yesterday? Is that the problem? Oh man, let's take a look at price though. Let's see here. This is the micro future here. I was thinking about going. I should have went long on it last night. I didn't want to let it sit overnight while I was sleeping, so I didn't do it, and I should have done it. I was thinking about doing it right over here. Oh man, that would have been nice. All right, what do you guys think is going to happen over the next week? What do you guys think is going to happen over this weekend? Is this going to continue to go up? Or are we just going to chop until Monday? Like, what do you guys think is actually going to take place on Monday? Because I've been hearing all kinds of narratives, and the only thing I can do is just stick with mine. And I follow the data, and the macro data tells me that the worst is behind us, and to continue to dollar cost average in, because dollar cost averaging works. That's why I'm positive right now and not negative after this crash. I actually came out with this pump. I actually came out ahead. Worked out well for me. But I don't really have much else. And the stream is dying down. Doesn't seem like many people want to talk right now. It's Friday, so I'll get off here early. I want everyone to enjoy your weekend, but I will be back tomorrow on Saturday at noon for you all with another stream. We will see how this price is going to continue to play out, because it looks like it's still continuing to go up. All right. So until tomorrow, later.